Okay, so this poll changed rather dramatically. We've been doing polling analysis for a pretty long time on this YouTube channel, and for the most part, especially over the last 2 years or so, Harvard-Harris has been the butt of every single polling outlet joke. They've been the outlier of outliers. The outlier pro-Joe Biden poll, showing Joe Biden's approval rating for the longest time at like 49%, 52% during the fall of Afghanistan, for Pete's sakes, while the rest of the pollsters were showing Joe Biden in the low 40s and high 30s. I mean, Harvard-Harris, that is Joe Biden's favorite outlet. I mean, to be honest here, Harvard-Harris is probably the only reason Joe Biden decided to run for a second term. Well, what if I told you that the latest Harvard-Harris poll has shifted so dramatically, so incredibly in such a short period of time that it went from being, I guess we could call it a pro-Biden outlier, to now publishing some numbers that are absolutely devastating for the Biden camp. Holy moly, folks. You guys are going to get a kick out of this. But before we get into the data, this video is actually brought to you guys by a sponsor, so let's play that clip. This video is brought to you guys by American Hartford Gold. The powers that be are trying to convince you that we're in an economic recovery, everything's fine. Meanwhile, over the last 2 years, it seems like the cost of living has nearly doubled. This fiat currency scam continues to hurt you in this age of money printing where money isn't even real. Bank runs are happening, banks are failing, and to make matters even worse, the Russian government just confirmed a new BRICS gold-backed currency, signaling a possible end to the petrodollar, which is backed by fake fiat US dollars. The world is complicated, economics is complicated, and it seems like no matter what you do, no matter how hard you work, your purchasing power just continues to become weaker. Well, there's a clear answer in tough economic times. The answer is to divert a portion of your portfolio in stable, tangible assets like precious metals, gold, and silver. And American Hartford Gold is the best in the business. One phone call and they'll deliver physical gold and silver straight to your doorstep, or they'll deliver it directly into your IRA or 401k. They're the best and only option in the business, with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and decades of experience in the business. Not to mention they're running an amazing promotion where you can receive up to $5,000 of free silver on qualifying orders. What are you waiting for? They're one call away. Simply call 844-440-1005 or text Hivemind, one word, Hivemind, to 65532. Get them on the line, friends. Support the companies that support us in the work that we do. Now back to the video. All right, folks, so there's only one word to describe this if you're a Democrat, and that is disaster. In other words, the disaster continues. Most recent Harvard-Harris poll shows Donald Trump leading Joe Biden by 4 points at 52% to 48%. And again, keep in mind that's in popular vote. So this suggests that Donald Trump is possibly on track to win the popular vote, not just the Electoral College. Chances are that's probably not going to happen, but that doesn't exactly need to happen. Where it really starts to get shocking, though, and quite scary for Democrats, especially considering the headlines that they've been promoting recently. You know, headlines like this: RNC is in full-blown panic mode over RFK Jr. independent run. Once again, the data is telling a very, very different story. In a three-way race, if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. decides to join, Joe Biden's support drops 12 points. You heard me, 12 points, double digits. Although, to be fair, Trump is also down double digits, but only 10, but his lead expands by 2. Trump at 42%, Joe Biden at 36%, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at 22%. And now if it's a four-way race with Cornel West, it gets even worse for Biden. In this scenario, Trump has a +7 lead at 41%, with Cornel West taking 2 points from Biden and 1 point from Trump. Again, I'm standing by my hypothesis that a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. run does not help Joe Biden, regardless of what the headlines say that the RNC is in full-blown panic. It simply isn't the case, especially considering Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just this week added to his campaign platform that he supports reparations. He announced his proposal on The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne.
And so what I focus on are things that I believe I can change to make things better. And the two things that need to be changed is our education system, which is crippling a generation. It's a crime against a generation of black children, and we've got to fix that system. And everybody can get behind that, and politically it is doable. The other thing that we can do is to build opportunity for black neighborhoods to actually build businesses, and I know how to do that, and you can do it through empowerment zones, through tax credits, through loans, through direct grants, through education, because there's no accrued business knowledge in those, and there's no accrued income or inheritance money. And that has to be made available. So I believe, yes, we can do that, grants. But if you're saying we're going to call it, we have to call it reparations, and it has to come in this form, I'm just saying to you, as a practical person I'm not a politician, but I've been around politics my whole life, and I know what's feasible and what's not. And I know that when a politician wants to pretend they're doing something, when they really don't have any intention to do it, they name a commission. I don't need a commission to know how to fix this. I don't need it because I've been doing it my whole life.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is calling this targeted community repair. Now, while this is being presented as reparations in the media, it is a little bit different as you heard him describe it. His official campaign website states, communities that were specifically targeted for destruction need to be specifically targeted for repair. During Jim Crow, black banks, businesses, hospitals, schools, and farms were targeted for destruction. Racists knew that without these, the black community had no chance of building wealth. We must set federal dollars aside to rebuild black infrastructure. Targeted community repair will be available to devastated communities across the country, not just black. The criteria will be around need, not skin color. However, because there are so many black communities in need, this program will channel significant resources towards the rebuilding of these most devastated of communities. So it's more of an investment into infrastructure. At least that's how it looks on the surface, but if you do a little bit more digging, this quote also exists on his website. These programs complement direct redress payments or tax credits to the descendants of victims of Jim Crow and other victims of persecution. RFK Jr. will find ways to offer this redress that are legal, fair, and win the approval of Americans of all races, Kennedy's website states. Well, that's kind of reparations, and probably the best question to ask at this point is, well, who does that speak to? Or who does that appeal to? Young, leftist, big government voters, because he's talking about a big government plan to redirect funds and invest in particular communities, as well as sending tax credits and direct payments to descendants of slaves. That's not exactly a conservative priority. The infrastructure part, not really the end of the world. Investing in businesses, I think many conservatives can get on board with that kind of thing. But a social reparations task force or department, another wing of the government to spawn, spending billions in taxpayer dollars on programs that'll probably be rife with corruption and misuse of funds, not exactly appealing to small government conservatives. This headline says it. RFK Jr. comes out in favor of reparations, carving out lane to Biden's left. Obviously, these types of policy stances are viewed as significantly left-wing. And so who is RFK Jr. going to pull votes from? Most likely Joe Biden. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is taking a pretty hardcore left stance with this one. On this issue, voters have two options. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s targeted community repair program, or Donald Trump's initially proposed platinum plan for black Americans. One was focused on investing in businesses and building up communities through entrepreneurship. The other is offering a big government approach. Repeating myself, but I think it's an important point. Robert F. Kennedy is a big government Democrat, and the more people have exposure to him and his policy solutions, I think the more apparent that becomes, the more appealing it is to your average Democrat voter, and the less appealing it is to your more small government, capitalist-minded, economic-focused conservative voter, whether it's a Republican or independent who leans slightly to the right. The numbers continue to speak for themselves. This Harvard-Harris poll is absolutely devastating for Joe Biden's plans or ambitions of getting reelected. It's a double whammy. It's bad in both situations. It's bad in a head-to-head matchup. Donald Trump is absolutely BTFOing Joe Biden, and it's bad in a three-way race as well. And this is coming from voters who plan to largely vote Democrat down ballot, as the general congressional ballot data shows 51% supporting Democrats and 49% supporting Republicans. Of course, that doesn't speak to key races in important states, highly competitive elections targeting important seats that are basically going to decide the outcome. And sure, it's just one poll, but what it's showing here is important. It's showing that Trump is leading, even with voters who plan to vote Democrat down ballot. And Trump is leading in the popular vote in general, not just leading in important swing states. And that's another important topic which we've been covering relentlessly as of late. Well, again, we have more data, and it continues to spell disaster for the Democrat election hopes. Joe Biden's had one or two good polls this week. Well, good poll. Joe Biden's had one decent poll this week. That's the Morning Consult poll, showing showing him leading Donald Trump by 2 percentage points at 43 to 41. But again, if you take a peek under the hood, it's devastating for Sleepy Creepy Piss Pants Joe. The Morning Consult / Bloomberg poll shows Trump leading Biden in 5 of 7 swing states. Trump leads in Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, he's equal in Michigan, and down 3 points in Nevada. Meaning the only state that Joe Biden seems to be winning as of right now, the only swing state, is the state of Nevada, which I think is only 6 electoral votes in the Electoral College. And if we take swing state data across all polls that have been released as of late, the aggregate data shows a Trump electoral victory at 280, which I believe is underestimating Donald Trump's current position, considering he could very well flip Michigan and Wisconsin, and possibly even Nevada. Anyways, that's the polling data update. RFK Jr. not exactly the Trump kryptonite that they were hoping for. Trump's now way ahead, way overperforming in even Harvard-Harris data, and he's winning across the board in swing states. Cue the meltdown. It's possibly coming here. That's what I got for you guys, though. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.